Jack Engelhard is a leading American novelist whose bestsellers have been translated and celebrated worldwide. His books have been turned into smash hit movies, most notably Indecent Proposal. Indecent Proposal is also now a stage play being performed in the Netherlands. Jack has been hailed as an heir to Hemingway for the economy of his prose. He is the recipient of the Ben Hecht Award for Literary Excellence, among other laurels. His latest bestsellers include The Bathsheba Deadline and News Anchor Sweetheart, the latter being a fictionalized behind-the-scene expose of Megyn Kelly and Fox News.
Watching Demi Moore and Robert Redford, it just reminded me how rare it is to watch movie stars, two great movie stars, at the height of their powers. There's only a few movies that are like, a movie that comes to mind, which I'm sure nobody here has seen, is called Mogambo. Anybody? Yes. You have. Well, you'll see it's got Gable, Grace Kelly, and yeah, well, the three of them are so, at that moment, they will never be better. It happens that way in life, where you're at the peak of your skills and of your physical beauty. And this is what I beheld here, looking at, for the first time in quite a while, that Robert Redford is at the height of his movie starishness. You got that? There is that movie star quality, which we can go into that later on when we met him in Vegas and later on in Hollywood. There is that quality that makes him kind of different from the rest of us. And the same for Demi Moore. I won't speak as to whether they've been as good ever again since then, but I'm just saying that at that moment, it's that rare quality that some movies bring out in some people. They'll never be as good again. I sat down to write this novel back in the mid-1980s in Philadelphia when the air conditioner was broken and just knocked out the typewriter, by the way. I had no computer then, not if anybody did. So it was all, it was like that. And then you had to make copies and all that stuff. And the idea, and that, I was just realizing the movie did capture that, which is who is satisfied? Because if people ask me, what is the real theme behind Indecent Proposal? And I don't know what it is. Because it's got many themes and sub-themes. I'm talking about the novel now, okay? And even the movie picked up quite a bit of that. It has quite a bit of sub-themes. Temptation, obviously, right? Moral dilemma, for sure. Poverty. I wrote this down as I'm watching the movie. Do we understand? Are we together on what poverty means? Because I want to go into that a little bit, okay? And what moral dilemma means, and what temptation means, or what leads to temptation. So I'll just go into one brief thing to answer your question, Rod, okay? Nobody, when Redford says nobody is happy with his lot, that is a big chunk of my novel, Indecent Proposal. And I'll tell you personally what happened, okay? I was rolling along. It's not always when you're blessed like that, when you know a novel is really moving on you, when the characters talk back to you. Joan in the novel is Demi Moore in the movie. And Joan is a beautiful mainline Philadelphia Grace Kelly type in the novel. In the novel, her husband is a Jewish speechwriter, a Holocaust survivor. The billionaire is a great sultan with, think of Omar Sharif, okay? That type. In fact, I beheld that type. That's where I got that figure. So that's the novel as it began in my mind as to what happens, what more do people want out of life? Is anybody really happy with his life? In our Hebrew scriptures, we have the saying, who is a happy person? The person who is happy with what he's got. So the question is, who is happy? So as I was writing the novel, when you're into it, is anybody here artistic? I think you all are. Okay, when you get into something and it's doing it by itself, I know you are, it's happening by itself. So I took a break. I couldn't take it anymore. My fingers kept going by themselves.
So the book was writing you.
It was writing me, Rod. That's right. And I do believe it is a spiritual thing. But people ask me, what makes you write? I say, Hemingway says, you write what you know. I write what's given to me. I know it sounds spooky, crazy, spiritual. I write what's given to me. I wanted to take a break. So I went to the racetrack with a friend on a Sunday in Philadelphia. And I didn't have a pen with me or anything to write on purpose. And then it struck me that the main element of this novel, what it is, the racetrack was packed. I rushed into a hot dog stand. I said, please, I need a pencil and paper. Can I please, and a glass of Coca-Cola. And I sat down. People were walking on top of me, and I kept writing. And it was the speech given by the director of the hotel, of the casino, to my hero, Joshua. And he said, what do you think makes people come to the casinos? It's because nobody is satisfied with what he's got. Everybody wants more. If it's a poor person, naturally he wants to make a livelihood. But even billionaires want another $1 billion. Nobody is happy. That's why people are drawn to the casinos. And as I maintain now, the casinos for many people are like a house of worship. Have you ever watched somebody yelling at a horse to come in first? That's prayer. That's prayer. And people go and everybody feels cheated out of life. I didn't get what I was promised as a child. My dreams didn't come true. So because nobody is happy, that's why casinos flourish, and that leads to temptation. That is why I maintain in the novel, and as it came across in the movie, well, when he says, and I do have it in the novel right here, rhetorically, people say, no, my morals are too high for that. Yeah, but let's say, now, should I get to poverty before I give you all a chance to talk? Yes. What is poverty? Does it mean, God forbid, where there's no food? Of course, we know that. But there's a different kind of poverty. There's a 9-to-5 poverty. The poverty where nothing will ever get better, and you know it. That's poverty. You're living in some kind of ordinary life, and you figure, I'm 35, I'm 45, 55. Nothing will get better. That is a certain kind of poverty, and you're imagining, this is where the imagining for the plot came in for Indecent, and I won't tell you the other part of it, or if you want, I will. Along comes somebody and says, for one night, I can change your life forever, what he says, and that's one area where I have disputes with the screenwriter, but she did pick up that part of my novel. Just give away that the divinity of your marriage, the holiness of your matrimony for one single night. You get no, she's saying no.
It would never be the same.
That's exactly what well, you have to read the novel to see what happens at the end. Okay, but because the novel is supposed to enrage. A couple of points here. Remember, we're talking about, the New York Times is the one that pointed out, the New York Times gave the novel a tremendously favorable review, that it's about the elements, it contains many of the elements of life. And one person said that in the novel, the blonde represents America, Joshua represents Israel, you might say, and the other thing represents great oil money, big oil money, all challenging for the blonde. The two sides, the oil billionaire, the religious Christian religion, all fighting for the embrace of America and to destroy, either to embrace or destroy America. So, no, no. I'm glad you brought, when you sit down to write a novel, you never think big. You think small. You think every page at a time. What are the characters saying back to you? It's a sin for novelists to say, I'm going to make a novel that's going to show this side, which is why, to answer your question, it was Rolling Stone give it a very the novel. Let's talk about the movie separately. Give the novel a very strong review, and said that Engelhard, the novelist, wasn't happy with any of his characters, that he gave them all hell. And I think this is my biblical background. I'm talking about the Old Testament, which is that the Hebrew Bible gives nobody a break. Even our greatest heroes are shown warts and all. You see, that's how you know it's true. If everything is perfect, then you say, well, something's wrong here. So everybody in the Hebrew Bible is shown the greatness, but is also then shown, hey, you did lack here. Okay, so does that answer your question? That you'll see as you go along. And some of my Jewish friends have said, now wait a minute, you're very pro-Israel, Jack. Okay? You're very strong in your belief in Torah, unquestioning any of it. And yet, I sense that in the novel, there's no difference between Ibrahim, Hassan, and Joshua, Cain. I said, I'm glad to hear that. That means I wrote a real novel. You know, the characters are alive. There's no hand of the novelist intruding. There is a part towards the end that's very graphic sexually. And it's a point where I said to my wife, is your mother going to read this? And she said, after my wife read it, she said that her mother read it, and she said, as long as it makes money. That's the mother-in-law for. So, but I figured, should I leave that in? And I couldn't stop myself because it's a very crucial part of the book. It's that part that makes the jealousy. The husband is compelled to see something that he couldn't believe he's ever going to have to see about his wife, that there's something inside her too that's very raw. You know, when you tap people, you'd be surprised what you're going to find. And that's what this novel does, and that's what the movie does a little bit, not as much. It tapped that person on the shoulder and said, look, fate is knocking a little bit here. What you going to do?